I'm starting to realize that even though we have infinite choices every single second of our lives, there's only a handful that really, really matter. Everything has to end, Captain. It has to. It doesn't matter how tightly you hold on to things, they'll still just slip right through your fingers. You'll always make mistakes. You have to. And that's okay. I just wish I learned that sooner.
In Space with Markiplier, created and directed by Mark Fishbach, is an Emmy-nominated YouTube original series which follows a choose-your-own-adventure style of interactivity. A lot of mainstream Hollywood tends to look down on YouTube as a place of art, as there are a lot of people on that platform who don't express a lot of talent. But when a creator comes along with a project that has a line with,
"When thinking in infinites, unlikely is just certainty, waiting for its turn,"
it can get overshadowed. The entire series, we, the viewers, play the role of the captain, seeing everything from a first-person point of view. From the very beginning, we make choices that direct the flow of the entire story. Fishbach goes to great lengths to ensure that this story isn't just something to watch, but something to experience and something to be a part of, which could not have been accomplished as easily had this not been first-person or interactive. When the audience experiences something through the mediums of first-person cinema or interactive cinema, they are almost forced to think differently about their choices and become more connected to the story presented. Starting in the opening scene, it's made clear what we are seeing on our screen is not just what the character is seeing, but what we are seeing, if that makes sense. We are the captain, and they make great efforts to make sure every viewer is able to connect to the captain, put themselves in the captain's hat, so to say. The captain never speaks, only ever gives hand gestures, or it's implied they already had. And when referred to, it's only ever they, their, or just captain. This way either gender, male or female, can be the captain, and every viewer can be in the story rather than simply a viewer. One of the most important parts of being immersed into the story using first-person storytelling would be making the viewer feel as if they were the character, which Fishbach works hard to immerse you to that level. In an article called The Searching Camera, First-Person Shooters, Found Footage Horror Films, and the Documentary Tradition, in Volume 58, Number 4 of the Journal of Cinema and Media Studies, Adam Charles Hart says POV shots show approximately what a character would see, whereas subjective shots mean to show the exact psychological or emotional qualities of what a character would see. This is the type of first-person cinematography employed by Fishbach in his series to immerse his audience even further into the story. For example, here in this clip,
"Hi, Captain.
Sorry about that. Couldn't afford to let you make another mistake. Funny thing to say after an eternity of nothing but second chances.
We're not just seeing what's happening from the viewpoint of where the eyes are on the captain, but the camera is the captain's eyes. When they hit the floor, we see Captain's eyes shut, and when they come to, everything's all blurry and distorted, something one may experience after being hit in the head that hard. In this way, Fishbach makes the viewer able to be the captain by knowing exactly what the captain feels at that moment. With the visible shutting the eyes, opposed to just quickly fading to black, is yet another thing that helps to put us in the captain's hat. In an article titled Blinking and Thinking, the Embodied Perceptions of Presence and Remembrance in Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void, in Volume 41, Issue 1 of Film Criticism, Jishan Ghazi wrote, "For the blinks imply the existence of eyelids, and the eyelids of these digital blinks imply the existence of a face. Aside from all the other ways to communicate to us that we are the captain, like talking directly to us or making us make the choices, this is yet another way to tell us that what we're seeing is not just a camera's viewpoint, it's our viewpoint, because cameras don't have faces, but we do." In these ways, we become so much more connected to the story presented to us than we would have been without all these qualities. YouTube has a feature that at the end of every video, the creator has the option to include a few end cards that link to other videos. Fishbach uses this feature excellently as a way to present the choices to the viewers. At the end of every segment of the series, the viewer is presented with a choice to make, given 2 to 3 options. Some are rational choices, like waking up the crew member specializing in a certain task when that task starts to go wrong. And others are, well, a little less rational.
Captain, no! Captain, no! Think about calling it! No! Captain, give me that! Give me that! Give me that! Captain! Oh!
You got this, Captain? You're good. You're good. You're good.
The series is an interesting take on destiny, where no matter how many good decisions you make, you still wind up facing the consequences for decisions you didn't make, because somewhere in some alternate universe you did make those decisions. No matter how many different paths you go down in part 1, you'll always end up facing off against Old Mark and realizing that he's the one who destroyed the multiverse, not you. Well, unless you try to reason with Celsi before she puts everyone in cryostasis. Then you'll just stay there. And in part 2, no matter the choices you make there, you will always end up in that empty diner with Old Mark and facing off with current Mark as he tries to go back and fix everything. However, here, you can either let him go, which starts over the whole series from the beginning, or you can hold on to him and get to the true ending where Mark doesn't go back and he realizes he was the one responsible for everything, and the multiverse is reset to what it's supposed to be. In my opinion, had this just been a classic, non-interactive, and normal third-person point of view, it would have been a great story, but there's something about being involved in the telling of a story that leaves a certain level of satisfaction once it's done. Rebecca Vasquez at the College of Arts and Humanities at the University of Central Florida said, "When audiences participate in the creation of a film, they're able to address the need for self-actualization, leaving them feeling more fulfilled. When people create art, they are left with the knowledge that they just created something that is unique to them." While the form of interactive cinema Vasquez was speaking to is the audience participation of the creation of an actual film, it as well applies to choosing how a story unfolds before you. As the story goes on, there's never a set choice that you have to make, but many choices you could make, so that by the end you know every choice you made led to that point, and not just because that's how the story was written to flow. Speaking from experience with my first time going through the series when it was released months ago, being able to make my own path and find hidden secrets many people not find on their own might be incredibly satisfying. In online discourse about the series, many viewers have referred to it as a game, which is not the most incorrect thing you could refer to it as there have been several video games that have followed a similar type of interactivity, such as Batman, the Telltale series produced by Telltale Games in 2016. For a long time, cinema and video games have been separate things, where cinema is something you sit and view, and video games are something you have to interact with for something to happen. But as technology advanced over the years, there started to be more cinematic aspects added to video games, such as cutscenes. But something that people never thought would happen, or at the very least be common, was video game aspects being added to cinema. Kevin Veal in Volume 12, Issue 1 of Game Studies said that we, as the audience, carry an awareness of the fact that we cannot interact with the film and to our experience of it. If we anticipate dire events for the protagonist, there's nothing we can do to postpone the inevitable. The most we can do is look away. In a way, he's right. In the series, when we're in the middle of a segment and the lady, Leo Tipton, comes out of nowhere and shoots Mark, played by Mark Fishbach, in the chest, we can't do anything about that. We are at the mercy of the story Fishbach wrote until we reach the end of a segment and are presented with a choice. However, unlike the movie we go see at the theater, we're still presented with a choice and get a say on how the story progresses. It's unsure if this style of interactive cinema will catch on, or if it's just a fun thing that might die out soon. But there have been other examples of it recently, such as Batman: Death in the Family, directed by Brandon Vietti in 2020, which offers branching choices based on the storyline of the same name where Jason Todd is murdered and resurrected, then becomes the Red Hood. We make so many choices in our lives. Each word I'm putting to the script is its own individual choice. The clip I'm putting on the screen now after I've written the script is yet another choice. And you choosing to watch this video at the time you did is another choice. I know what you're thinking, like duh, of course it is. But we make these tiny choices every day and rarely even think about it. The only time we really think hard about choices is on big things, and even then, we take the ability to make choices for granted. In a book titled A Mind Forever Voyaging, A History of Storytelling in Video Games, the author Dylan Holmes says, "Life is a continuous series of choices to find who we are in the life we lead. But it's the thought behind the choices and the results that are interesting, not the act of choosing itself." It would be so easy just to go into a series like In Space with Markiplier and just choose the options that come up on the screen because it would be funny if you did that or something along those lines. But then consistently throughout the series, it reminds you that there are consequences for your actions, that you can't get a second chance and do something over when you screw up, because no matter what, when something happens from a choice, they don't get erased. In this way, Fishbach forces us to think more in depth about what we're choosing, even when you're choosing your own adventure story on YouTube. In Space with Markiplier is an incredible series, and while it didn't win the Emmy it was nominated for, that takes nothing away from it. It's a perfect example of all the creativity housed on YouTube and the expression of Fishbach's undying gratitude to his subscribers, who he couldn't have done any of this without them. It's filled with little jokes and references OG fans will recognize and enjoy. Silly bits to get some laughs, random musical numbers, but under all that, it's a lesson about life, which boils down to what old Mark said in the clip I played at the beginning of this video. Even though we had infinite choices in every second of our lives, there's only a handful that really, really matter. Everything has to end, Captain. It has to. It doesn't matter how tightly you hold on to things, they'll still just slip right through your fingers. This moment reflects back on all those choices you've made throughout the series and is telling you what you need to do to reach the end. When you have the choice to let Mark go or to hold on, old Mark was telling you that you need to let it all end. And by not letting Mark go and getting rid of the crystal instead, you do just that. Let it end. But in doing that, you save everything. Now the same thing could have happened in any normal movie or TV series, but by putting the viewer in the captain's hat and giving them the choice to let it end or to keep going, you make them think about what they're doing so much differently than they would have otherwise. Now, it's unlikely that there will be many other projects that follow this model in the future, but when thinking in infinites, unlikely is just certainty waiting for its turn.